Everybody okay? In the Tibetan monasteries, when people wake up, you hear Omar Patsandi, everybody, you go to the bathroom, you go wherever you're going, everybody's going Omar Patsandi, especially the little monks. Yeah. The older monks too. And it's really very sweet because, the mantra, it's for wisdom and the golden light. I mean, it wakes you up. And the is very sharp. And there's a phrase in here, awakening us from the slumber of our ignorance. Yeah. So we've been sleeping in our afflictions a long time. Delusions used to be the old translation for what is now translated as afflictions, or at least how the terms I use. Yeah. Neither of them are really excellent terms, but you do what you can. I decided, I was reading another part from Lama Yeshe's commentary about the mantra, and I thought to read that to you because usually when teachings are given on sadhana, you get into it, and then by the time you get to the section on the mantra, you have to rush to finish because there's not enough time in the series, and you took a long time at the beginning. So I thought here to go to the section on the mantra and the visualization. So when we do the homage to Manjushri, it's good to visualize him in the space in front, and it's like you're talking to him. Mm-hmm. So imagine for a moment what it would be like to have Manjushri's compassion for sentient beings. What it would be like first to have equanimity, free of attachment and anger towards others. And then to see their kindness, see our dependence on them, see their situation in samsara, and have that kind of wisdom, compassion that seeks to benefit them temporally and ultimately. So what would that feel like inside? And then increase that compassion so that you aspire for full awakening in order to bring about the cessation of dukkha for others and for yourself. What would that feel like to have that motivation? And so with that bodhicitta motivation, let us share the Dharma this morning. sometimes when we imagine what it would feel like to be a Buddha or to have the qualities even of a bodhisattva, we come to realize that there's some blocks in our own mind to it. Yeah? Anybody experience that? It's like, oh, that sounds nice, but that 3-letter word, but, yeah, if I am not attached to friends and I give up animosity towards the people I don't like, then who am I going to be close to? Who's going to protect me? Who will love me? Who can I rely on if I don't have attachment for them? And if I don't give up my anger, then that means I have to greet others completely like a blank slate without a lot of opinions and preconceptions about them. And that's a bit scary because I need to know, like, who do I have to have power over and go about creating that power? Or who is going to have power over me, and how do I go about defending myself? Okay? So you're in the process of trying to drop the attachment and hostility, and you find in your own mind that there's some barriers, there's some creaky, like creaky doors, there's some rocky cliffs in our mind, something that is like, it sounds good, but it's really scary because what's going to happen to me? Anybody come across that? You're meditating, trying to develop equanimity. So when we see that in our own mind, that's good. Yeah. Don't look at that and say, oh, I'm a failure. I'll never become a bodhisattva. We all have this kind of stuff floating around in there. Or maybe not floating around, but glued onto the sides. So when you see this kind of stuff, say, oh, now I know, what needs to be looked at. Now I have a clearer picture of how actually my ordinary samsaric mind works. And when we have a clearer picture, then we can start doing something and applying the antidotes and changing the mind. Yeah. But as long as we just say, oh yeah, it's great, I don't feel anything, then what are you going to work on in your practice? Are you already a bodhisattva? Are you already a Buddha? If you think you are, come stay here for a while. Yeah, we'll let you check up a little bit. Okay? Yeah, right? Yeah. We don't even try, but we'll help you check up your level of realizations. So, when we're meditating and these things come up, I think it's actually quite good because then we know what we need to work on. And you may not think that you have power issues. Some of you are laughing. But when you see this coming up, you think of equanimity towards everybody. But that guy, carrying the gun in a Coeur d'Alene march, do I have equanimity towards him? No. Either I'm afraid of him, Okay, he has power over me because he has the gun. Or I've got to do something so I have power over him because he's an enemy. Yeah. And it's like we haven't even talked to the guy. We don't know anything about him except, he's one of those, what do you call it? The Western dream of masculine power, the big guy with the gun. Yeah, the Wild West. Yeah? And we see that, and we go, okay. But this is just some sentient being. Yeah. Just some sentient being who wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer and is super confused. Yeah. Can we even talk to him? Can we say hello? Or do we just pretend he doesn't exist? Okay. So it's good. We begin to see the preconceptions, the beliefs, the assumptions that we have and how they block our generating compassion and how they also block our wisdom. Okay. So, yeah. When these things come up, don't be scared of them. Own them. We all have them. Yeah. Different varieties on a theme. One person is afraid of this, one person's afraid of that, but it's all, the self. Yeah, the attachment of the self. How can I protect myself? Some people are afraid of physical violence, some people verbal violence, some people mental violence. Yeah, but it all kind of is rooted in the same thing. So we have to do something with this grasping to the self because it's strangling us. Yeah, I mean, we come to Buddhism and we want light and love and bliss, don't we? The Buddha is so peaceful, and Manjushri is emanating light. Yeah. And there you are alone in your own aura of light. No other obnoxious sentient beings in that aura of light. Yeah, you are in control of your aura. Yeah. Okay. Maybe some people don't have that problem. Maybe I'm just talking about myself. Anybody else have that problem? A couple people. So you have to remember Manjushri is the Buddha of wisdom. So he's going to especially bring this stuff to the surface. Yeah. And, he's the appearance of especially the quality of wisdom. Yeah, the wisdom of conventional functioning, the wisdom of the ultimate nature. And so naturally, there's something about his practice that is very light. Yeah. I mean, not just the golden light, but the sound of the mantra and the di-di-di-di-di. There's something light. And it influences your mind. It transforms your mind. Okay, so we'll go on with Lama's discussion about the mantra. Okay. So he starts out, Tibetans recite many mantras, but here we will only do a little in each session, okay? Because he's teaching, and so it's not a retreat to accumulate a lot of mantra. But usually we'll do a retreat to, to accumulate the mantra, a certain number of recitations. So if you recite too much mantra, the powerful energy may create difficulties. In my own experience, I have noticed that if I push mantra too much, my tongue becomes paralyzed and the area around my mouth becomes tired. So our recitation will be done the comfortable way. We will use mental recitation rather than the physical movement of speech. Yeah. And you can see that if you talk a long time straight, you're tired afterwards. Okay. Maybe not with a paralyzed tongue, but, it's like there's not a lot of energy. I don't know how His Holiness did it, and he doesn't do this now, but, some years ago, he would teach for 3.5 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, have interviews in between that, always talking. Amazing. I don't know how he did it. Yeah. Takes a lot of energy, I think, The important point here is that having had the transcendental experience of body through transformation of the body, now we will have the transcendental experience of divine speech through transformation of the speech by mantra. Okay? So we have body, speech, and mind, what's called the 3 doors, and we need to purify all of them. Yeah, in their impure state, we wind up with the 10 non-virtues, 3 of body, 4 of speech, last 3 of mind. Okay, and we have to purify not only those actions, but how our body operates, how we relate to people. Yeah. How aware are we of our body? Are we aware of our movement when we enter a room? Do we walk quite quickly? Yeah. Do we sit in an important place? Do we, slam doors? Do we open them quietly? When we eat, do we eat silently? No, we talk about, being silent during meals. So we don't talk. But have you ever noticed there's still a lot of noise in here, even though we don't talk? Our dishes, if you haven't noticed, our dishes and the silverware, clank, 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 clank. Yeah. Some people will be here a long time. They never notice how noisy it is. They're clanking while they eat. Yeah. In the kitchen, when we clean up with the metal things like that, oh my goodness, it's like bang, crash, ooh. People don't notice. It's like, I don't know. Okay, but silence isn't just the mouth, it's how we move in space too. Yeah. And there's some situations where we need to make noise and other situations where, we want to be more respectful of other people's silence. So here, when it's talking about the mantra recitation and purifying the speech, this is done. He's talking here about the self-generation, where before you generated yourself as the deity. Yeah. So meditating on emptiness and then generating oneself as the deity is the purification of the body. Then here, with the mantra recitation, is the purification of speech. When you meditated on emptiness prior to the self-generation, that's the purification of mind. Okay? So now we're going to work on transformation of the speech by mantra. There are two ways to recite mantra: verbal recitation and mental recitation. During the sessions, we will do more mental recitation, but during the break time, you should recite many mantras verbally. Yeah, so in the break time between meditation sessions, if you aren't reading or studying or whatever, if you're taking a walk or, looking far distances, that's really good to do during retreat. Then say some mantra. Yeah, you don't have to scream it, but it could be, verbal. Okay. Or I guess you can look up and scream it. But probably it won't be so jarring to your mind if you don't scream it. And jarring to the people around you. Okay. Okay, so you should recite many mantras verbally. This is my psychology for the Western mind. Because during the break time, you usually go completely unconscious, and that is dangerous. Unconscious, we lose all of our conscientiousness. We lose our mindfulness of our precepts. We lose, the vigilance of monitoring our mind. Yeah. So it's like we go unconscious. Yeah. And then, when we lack consciousness of what's happening with our body, speech, and mind, then who knows what comes out of that. Yeah. Yeah. I just have had many experiences. I think you may have had them too. When you finally become conscious and you're in the middle of saying something, and one part of your mind goes, shut up. I don't need to say this. I don't want to say it. It's going to cause problems. And it keeps coming right out of your mouth. Yeah, as you tell somebody off or criticize them or become defensive or whatever it is. Yeah, and there it is. It's coming right out of our mouth, and we only become aware of it halfway through. And then we keep going because of the force of the habit, You ever done that? And then how do you feel afterwards? Yeah. You feel like you want to be a cartoon character who can all of a sudden suck those words back in because you don't want them to have the effect that you know they're going to have. Okay. Okay. So during the break time, you go completely unconscious, and that is dangerous. So at that time, you should recite the mantra. And when you are eating and drinking, you should not talk too much. All should be mantra. This is very good for mind training, especially for the transformation of speech. Okay. So there's a psychology. Sometimes people who practice in a Buddhist tradition where there's no visualization, where you, for example, focus on the breath, or you focus on physical sensations in the body, then they say, oh, these people who do Tibetan Buddhism, they're just visualizing. It's just more conceptualization. It just agitates your mind with conceptualization. And all this mantra, you're just blah, blah, blah. It's your same old mind going blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Well, how is that Dharma practice? Okay. So you might hear this kind of thing. Okay. So, but if you do those practices of the visualization and the mantra recitation, you begin to see that they're actually a very skillful way of flipping some of our ordinary habits. Okay? So if you watch your mind normally through break times or, when you're driving, when you're just walking, there's nothing special you need to concentrate on. What's going on in your mind? Are you even aware of what you're thinking about when you drive from point A to point B? Or when you walk from Gautami to here? Yeah. Are we aware of that? Yeah. Very often we aren't aware. When we become aware, we see that actually we're visualizing a lot. Yeah. You're walking from there to here before lunch. Chances are there's a visualization of lunch. Okay. Yeah, that may even come during the meditation before lunch. Okay. So, yeah, there's a visualization. Or you just had a conversation with somebody and you're going over that conversation again. Or there's something that attracts you and you're off, in Never Never Land dreaming of having it and, how wonderful it's going to be. Or maybe somebody said something you didn't like and all of a sudden you're visualizing, I'm going to confront them. So, they criticize me, I'm going to confront them. And you're going through this whole planning in your mind. I mean, your body's just walking. Your mind is like, okay, I'm going to say this and then they're going to do that. And then I'm going to do this and that and that. Hoo-hoo. And, you have it all worked out. I'm going to confront them. They can't treat me like this. That's going on in the mind. Okay? And you're rehearsing conversations you want to have with people or rehearsing conversations that you just had. What did they mean when they said that? They just said it so flippantly. But I think there's some deeper meaning that they're communicating. What is that? They don't like me. Or they think I'm wonderful. All this, just look at what's, yeah? Have you ever stopped to look at what's going on as you walk from here to there? Yeah. Lots of visualization. Lots of internal chatter. So what the visualization of the deity does, and the visualization during the mantra recitation, is it, and we're visualizing light going out and light coming in, and, there's so much going on sometimes, yeah, boy, Manjushri's really busy, sending light out to, the hungry ghosts, and then also trying to do something with the people in the aid organizations who cipher off the food for the hungry people for themselves, and I'm purifying them, and, got to do something in D.C. I'm purifying the whole Supreme Court. Oh, God. Really? I have to purify the whole Supreme Court? What about Congress? Yeah, got to purify those guys too, but there's a lot going on here. Okay, so what it does, yeah, I'm exaggerating your meditation a little bit, but what the idea is, we're taking our usual afflicted tendency to visualize and plan, and, we're taking that and we're flipping it so that instead of going in an afflicted direction, we're imagining being a Buddha or having, Manjushri in front of us, filling us with light, So it's the same tendency to visualize, but it's going now for a different purpose. Yeah, we're not visualizing confronting people. We're visualizing having compassion for them. Okay. And so similarly with the mental chatter that's going on and planning conversations, reliving conversations, analyzing, why did they say that word instead of this word? What do they really mean by that? And you're not analyzing texts. What did Tsongkhapa mean when he said that? What did my friend mean when they said, check up? Oh, check up. What do they want me to check up? I don't know. Oh, this bad. Yeah. If we were analyzing what Tsongkhapa meant, there's some good purpose. When we're proliferating about all the different things somebody meant when they said, check up, or do this, vacuum the floor, please. What do they mean? Vacuum the floor, please. They hardly ever say please when they've asked me to vacuum the floor. What do they mean by please this time? Are they buttering me up for something? Yeah. Or, it's about time they said please. They think I'm just this low-class servant. Finally, they got it that they need to say please to me. We ruminate all about this. Okay, to find the deeper, hidden, transcendental meaning of please, vacuum, versus vacuum, please. Why did they say the please before the vacuum instead of afterwards? Okay, so it's taking our normal tendency to speak to ourselves about total rubbish and instead use that ability of speaking to say mantra. So we're substituting our garbage with which has a definite different energy vibration than who do they think they are? Okay. Yeah. I don't talk about energy so much, but in this case, you can really feel it, can't you? Yeah. The difference between vacuum the floor, please, and vacuum the floor, please. Yeah. What's the difference between Omar Pasanadi and Omar Pasanadi? Okay. So we go round and around. And, yeah. Okay. Lama says, we have a big problem with speech. If we look at our uncontrolled speech, it is unbelievable. Some people cannot remain silent. And if we try to keep too much silence during retreat, they may freak out. Yeah, really, some people, silence during retreat, there's this somehow like a flashback to when you're a kid, yeah, and when the house is really quiet, but everybody's there. You sit down to eat, and it's really quiet, but everybody's sitting down. Why is it quiet? One of your parents is about to explode. Yeah, you're about to get of anger. So you keep quiet in the hopes that you can at least eat something and get away as quick as you can. So if you've had that kind of experience as a kid, where silence means somebody is angry. Yeah, anybody have that when they grew up? Yeah. Silence, it was anger. Then when you come here and we're silent, it feels really scary. We're silent for a totally different reason than the silence when you were growing up. But just being with a group of people in silence is anxiety producing. Yeah. We're ready for the other shoe to drop. Okay. So, again, these are all sorts of things for us to learn about how our mind works and the associations we make with things that we solidify so that even in totally different situations, we react the same way. Yeah. Yeah. When somebody at home was going to explode, yeah, you want to eat and get out of there quickly. Okay. Or you want to do something, get people, not that silence. But here, when we're silent during retreat, it's not because we're unfriendly. It's not because somebody's going to explode. Yeah. It's a silence of respecting other people so that they can have their own time to look inside so that they can get closer to Manjushri. Yeah. We're not going to bug them with all of our chatter to distract them because we don't need to. Nothing scary about the silence during retreat. But we have to explain this to ourselves, repeatedly. Otherwise, this old conditioning becomes quite powerful. Okay. Yeah, and it's true. I've been on enough retreats that, if there's, for some people, if there's too much silence, it's just, it's not good for them. Yeah. Other people, they love the silence of retreat. It means, oh, now I have time to think. Okay. Mental recitation is more difficult because it involves the consciousness, whereas verbal recitation is much easier. So we do that during the break. We go into red-yellow conversation. Yeah. So you're conversing with Manjushri. No, you don't say it like that, like you're conversing, but you're saying the mantra. It's a way of connecting. Okay. Instead of going into lower realms conversation, we have going into upper realms conversation. Yeah, because the whole vibration of the mantra, it affects you. There's a physical effect in the same way that when we yell and scream and explode, or when we're so angry we withdraw, that has a noticeable effect on our body too. You can feel the tension in the body. Okay. So saying Manjushri's mantra kind of relaxes things. Yeah. unless you're having a dispute about Manjushri. Put down that sword, it's dangerous. You know. No, Manjushri's not going to hurt you with the sword. Yeah, Manjushri's cutting down ignorance. He's cutting down dukkha. But again, some people see the sword, weapon, danger. Okay. Some people find it hard to see deities with implements. Yeah, if you find Manjushri with his beautiful face and a sword, if that's frightening, wait until you get to Yamantaka. Yeah. Yeah. But when you visualize Yamantaka, you get used to that, you know, and it stops being so scary. You know? And then you visualize yourself, bulging eyes, and hair on fire, and you're holding these implements, you know, screaming. And then you realize sometimes when you're doing that, I'm afraid of my own anger. Yeah, when I get angry, I'm afraid of myself. So I clam up when I get angry. I back off, I retreat, I shut up, I become an ice cube and don't relate to anybody. Thank you, Yamantaka. Yeah, he does that too. Yeah. So you see these things about yourself, and then it's like, okay, I have to do something with this conditioned response too, because it's really not helping me. Yeah. I don't have to be afraid of my anger. Yes, I was before, because I had no control over my mind before, or no control over my speech, just like Lama said. So my speech was blah. And no wonder I was afraid of my anger, because I said some really horrible things. But now I'm in the process of purifying my speech and purifying the mind that motivates that speech. So, you know, maybe I need to monitor my speech, but I don't need to be afraid of it. And like this, you know, God, I'm going to say the wrong thing. Yeah. Okay, is this making sense? Yeah. Okay, so the whole dynamic here in Tantra is using some of our normal activities, but flipping them so that they're directed toward virtue. They're directed towards wisdom and compassion. Okay. So verbal recitation and mental recitation each have two ways. One is to concentrate on the seed syllable and the mantra in written form. The second is just to concentrate on the sound of the mantra. Okay, so in the case of the self-generation, when you're Manjushri, you have the mantra, the seed syllable, D, at the center of your heart, and it's surrounded by the letters of the mantra. There's a whole visualization for that. Yeah, if you're doing the front generation, you're visualizing the letter D at Manjushri's heart, and you also have the Oma Hung. Okay, so you can, when you say the mantra, focus on the letters, yeah, either the seed syllable, the D, or the letters of the mantra, yeah. And they say that the letters of the mantra you could write either in Sanskrit, in Tibetan, in Roman alphabet, however you want to do it, okay? Or you could concentrate on the sound of the mantra. And so you notice that when you're doing retreats, sometimes you're focused more on the visualization, even the visualization of sending out light and absorbing light. And other times you're just letting the mind rest in the sound of the mantra and really feeling the energy of the mantra. Sometimes when you recite a lot of mantra, sometimes it's like something feels weird, and you realize your energy is one way and the mantra's energy is another way. Yeah, sometimes you can feel that. And it usually happens when our mind is, some kind of affliction is going on in our mind. You know, we're ruminating, we're worried, we're anxious, we're going around in circles. The mind is not peaceful. And so then when you say the mantra, it's like, oh, there's this, something isn't matching here. Yeah. And so then you have to look at your mind, try and calm the mind down, so that the energy of the mantra and our own energy are somehow in sync. Yeah. I don't know, at least this is my experience. Maybe other people haven't had that. Okay. So in the beginning, some people find it easier to concentrate on the written form of the mantra. Mantras written in ink on paper are dead, inorganic. Okay. But the actual mantra of Manjushri is Manjushri. Okay. There is no distinction between Manjushri and the mantra. The mantra is the transformation of Manjushri's wisdom energy into divine speech, which remains Manjushri. When you do the self-generation, and this is for people who have the qualifications to do that, you dissolve into emptiness, and then you imagine your wisdom appearing in the physical form of Manjushri. So here you're thinking of your wisdom appearing in the form of the sound of the mantra. Okay. So why not? Yeah. Sound, I mean, we make sounds all the time, and sounds express what we're feeling inside. When a musician is creating music, they're expressing something. When an artist draws, they're expressing something inside. So here, when we're visualizing, when we're chanting mantra, we have to, we first meditate with wisdom on emptiness, and then with a compassionate motivation, and then express what we're feeling, what's going on in our mind, in the physical form of Manjushri and in the sound of the mantra. Okay, so that's what he means when he's saying that these things are Manjushri. Yeah, because we usually think, oh, Manjushri, he's that yellow guy sitting in the front of the room holding the sword and the text. Yeah, inherently existent Manjushri. Yeah, there's only one Manjushri, and that's him. Yeah. Okay, that's also grasping an inherent existence. That's also not understanding what the deities are. They aren't inherently existent people. But again, we have that habit of seeing everybody as inherently existent people, don't we? Okay. So this is a very important point. With our ordinary dualistic discrimination, we usually separate our functions of body, speech, and mind. But when our minds are trained, we reach the unity of body, speech, and mind. It is possible to have no distinction between them. So this happens at very high levels of tantric practice. In other words, let's say Manjushri's body is total wisdom, and Manjushri's speech is total wisdom. Then Manjushri's body is Manjushri, and Manjushri's speech is Manjushri. If Buddha's body is Buddha, and Buddha's speech is Buddha, what is Buddha? Okay. Buddha is totally opened up consciousness, and that highest consciousness is transformed into the divine body. Or, as I sometimes say, the body is a reflection of divine wisdom. The Buddha's speech is wisdom consciousness, and Buddha's body is wisdom consciousness. Okay, so this is getting us to think in a different way. Because you look at Manjushri, like we look at everybody else, inherently existent Manjushri. Then you ask yourselves, okay, if Manjushri is inherently existent, then I should be able to find exactly who Manjushri is. I should be able to find that essence that makes that Manjushri. Who really is Manjushri? Yeah. And you look. Is he his arm, his leg, his face, his eyes? You know, who's Manjushri? I look, and there's Manjushri, real solid, especially a bronze statue, you know. There's solid Manjushri there. Who? There's no part of that statue that's Manjushri. Well, that's a statue. What about if he was a real person? And you look at a real human being, you know. Who really is that person? Yeah. Difficult to point something out. They're not their body. You know. Oh, well, they're their mind. Yeah, they're their mind. I am in love with somebody's mind. I never watched Star Trek, but and now everybody's waking up. I said Star Trek. But somebody told me about one episode where one of the characters fell in love with somebody else on the spaceship. But then that somebody else, I don't know, they got zapped to some other part in the universe. And now it was the same mind, continuity of mind, but now they were in a box. The box was their body. Yeah. So the guy in the spaceship is like, well, I fell in love with them, but I'm not so attracted to that box. Yeah. So who is that person? Is it their box? Is it their mind? You're in love with their mind. What mind? Yeah. They have gazillions of mental states passing through, you know, their whoever they are. And in one day, you know, which thought are they? Which consciousness are they? Yeah. Which one are you in love with? Or when you're defending yourself, you know, oh, I got to defend myself. They're going to hurt me. Who are they going to hurt? Yeah. Yeah. Well, they don't have a weapon, and, you know, and okay, well, they're not going to hurt me physically. They're going to hurt me. They're going to say something that's going to devastate me. Yeah. Who's getting hurt? Yeah. It's not hurting your body. Is it hurting your mind? Oh, my visual consciousness just got hit. No. You know? They hurt my feelings. Yeah. What are the feelings that they hurt? Yeah. They hurt my feelings. Yeah. Yeah. Where are your feelings? If, you know, my feelings, they hurt me, meaning they hurt my feelings. Yeah. So who are the feelings, or what are the feelings that are you? It's very interesting when we start to look at what do we actually mean when we say certain words. Yeah. Because we tend to think of things as really concrete, discrete boxes. And especially when you start debate and they have very specific definitions. Yeah. Then this is the definition and not that. Yeah. Until you read another Yigcha, another textbook, and they have another different definition of what you just learned. Okay. But very interesting to ask these questions, to examine. Okay. So Buddha's speech is wisdom consciousness, and Buddha's body is wisdom consciousness. So ordinary speech is a big problem. Some people cannot go one day without telling a lie. Impossible. They want to say something reasonable to their friends, but for some reason they lie. Even though they don't want to talk ridiculous, untruthful vibration of speech, there is some uncontrolled energy in the mind, and suddenly it comes out. That's what I was talking about, when you find yourself in the middle of saying something and telling yourself, shut up. I'm just creating problems. Okay, so this is a common experience. All human beings want to speak correctly, but due to karmic force, they repeatedly tell lies and develop disunity of speech energy. Intellectually, you do not want to do it. You are tired of all these things, and you want to speak correctly and with control. You even wish to not talk at all. So you want to have control over your speech. But somehow there's a lack of control, and distrustful speech comes. Incredible. Sometimes you hate your speech. I don't understand. Why did I say that? I gained nothing, and still I spoke like that. Anybody have that experience? Yeah. So, okay. The karmic force of speech patterns, even you don't want to talk like that, there it is. Okay. And the more we do it, the more habituated we become. Yeah. And this, when we look at what's happening in the country, with all the lies and the misinformation that's going on, you can really see that it just breeds more and more because people become totally unaware that they're telling lies. Yeah. They hear something, they don't think, is this reasonable or not? Yeah. It just comes out of their mouth, and there goes another conspiracy theory. And it even gets to the point where, you don't know, do these people believe what they're saying, or are they aware that they're lying? Yeah. Because that kind of speech just comes so naturally. Do they believe it, or are they aware that it's not true? And they're speaking like that for ulterior purposes. So this is one of the big things in the January 6th investigation, what did people really think? What did they really know? And how much of it was deliberate phony baloney? And was there any just phony baloney just because that's habitual? Yeah. It's really kind of cute. Cute. Ted Cruz he's picking arguments with some of the Muppets. Yeah. Muppets? It's Muppets. Okay. I never watched that program. Yeah, Muppets. Okay. So there was one, some yellow, fuzzy kind of one. I don't know his name. Was it Big Bird? I don't know, one of them. But yeah. And Ted Cruz was like, this Muppet is lying. He's telling what isn't true. He's encouraging children. I forget what it was. It might have been something, like, this Muppet is racist. His version of racist, Yeah. This Muppet is teaching children to be ashamed of their own, of being white. Yeah. He doesn't care about the other races. Yeah. And now he's having something to do with another Muppet. I forget. He was like, again accusing this Muppet of doing something. I forget what it is, but oh, that's the vaccine. Who got a vaccine? Elmo got a vaccine. Oh, that's terrible. You see, this is from Geshe-la. You may not have. I don't think you grew up with this. Somebody want to explain? Is it Sesame Street? Okay, Mary Grace, you look like a good candidate to explain this. You worked with kids.
So Sesame Street was and continues to be a children's TV show on the public broadcasting system, and it's 50 years, 60. Oh my goodness! Yes, it's almost 60 years old now, and the show has different puppets, and each puppet actually teaches a skill or teaches a lesson to a child and embodies a particular characteristic. So there's Elmo, and Elmo is just really friendly. And then there's Oscar the Grouch, who's really grumpy. And then they used to have Big Bird, but Big Bird was laid to rest. But Big Bird was a really big bird who was almost like the narrator of the program. So a series of puppets, and this is what Venerable was referring to. So during this time, it's really incredible what they do with children. So these puppets are actually teaching children different qualities and different ways of being. Yeah. And a lot of folks disagree with it. Yeah. So one of them is Elmo getting a vaccination. Another one was Bert and Ernie were two male puppets that were really close friends. However, they again, this particular group of folks said we can't have Bert and Ernie because it's promoting gay relationships. So things like that. Is that enough, Venerable?
Yeah. Thank you, Big Bird. Yeah. So what I'm saying here is this one guy who wants to run for president, Ted Cruz. He really wants to run, and he's picking fights with these puppets, saying that what they are teaching is horrible. Teaching children to have a vaccine, that's poisoning the children. How dare they do that? Or to what kind of words were they? Really close. Yeah. What kind of animals were they? They're actually people puppets. People puppets. Yeah. Anyway, they're gay. This is terrible. They're puppets. They're roommates. Oh, then we know what happens. Okay. And he wants to represent the United States of America to foreign countries. And this is what his mind is preoccupied with. Then you have to ask, does he really believe that? Or is he what's going on in his mind? That this is the first time I've ever heard a U.S. congressman slander a Muppet.
we might be next.
Oh. Okay, yeah.
At least he knows his capacity of who he can argue with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's who he's capable of arguing with. His arguments won't do much for the rest of society. Okay. But, this is a good example. How much are we just acting out same old things all the time? And we say the same old things and we act the same old way. And then, we're told to imagine Manjushri and his wisdom light flooding into us and filling our body and mind. And we go, yeah, but I'm made out of concrete. There's no room inside of me for that light. Some people have difficulty visualizing light filling them because, they feel like there's no room inside, Do I have to open my mouth and then the light comes in? And, so how do we see ourselves? And so through all this, we get some information that can be quite useful of things that we have to overcome. What is often called in Tantra the ordinary view and the ordinary grasping. Okay. Then Lama goes on. That is why the psychologist's sand play is important. Uncontrolled force energy makes you do something. In your mind, you think you are doing things, but you are completely unaware of what you are actually doing. Yeah, Ted Cruz. Anyway, the unconscious force is more powerful than the intellect. In other words, the reality of the unconscious is more real than the intellect's reality. When Lama says unconscious, he doesn't mean Freudian unconscious. Be very clear about that. He's not a Freudian. What he's referring to is conditioning, karmic conditioning, other kinds of conditioning that we have that we're not aware of. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's very important to train our outer speech. Often we say, this man's speech is so powerful. I want to learn these words. Where is the dictionary? This is fantastic. Yeah, reading the dictionary is going to give you a lot of power. Yeah? Okay. Many people behave like this. I have seen them collecting powerful words, but this is a wrong conception. It's not the words that make speech powerful. Besides the words, there is some force energy, an impulse, the meaning of the words. Yeah, the way in which the speech is uttered. This is the power that we are gradually developing, not some intellectual idea of power. So not some, speaking like a grand professor in all sorts of words that nobody else can understand, okay? Or, speaking like we want to be powerful, so we, like he says, we learn a lot of big words. We learn how to stand and present ourselves to people and to look at them so that we appear powerful, whatever that is. And how that is thoroughly samsaric, just involved in creating an image. Okay, wanting to have power. Why do we want power? We want power, external power, but external power doesn't bring us ultimate happiness. Yeah, it's the internal power that is important. And power doesn't mean power. It's skill. Okay. Okay, so it is not the words that make speech powerful, besides the words, there is some force, energy, and impulse, the meaning of the words. This is the power that we are gradually developing, not some intellectual idea of power. The power that we seek arises as a process of continual development. It does not come immediately. Like when people attend the Lamrim course and think, unbelievable, the entire way I live my life, all my thoughts are self-centered. Now I want to help other sentient beings. I want to help. What can I do? I will go to Africa. I will give everything to help African people. Book me a ticket right away, I'm going. Okay. So that is, sometimes when you first hear about great compassion, you hear about bodhicitta. Yeah, you want to pack your bags and go to Africa. You know nothing about the country and the culture. Yeah. You know nothing about how aid organizations work. You know nothing about climate. Yeah. But it's kind of, a Mickey Mouse compassion of, I'm on fire. I heard the Dharma. I'm on fire and I'm going to go save the world. Yeah. Anybody experience that? Yeah. They rationalize like that. Or maybe they go into society and emotionally tell others, you are all wrong. Afflictions are overpowering your mind. Don't you realize you are suffering and creating the cause of suffering?
Evangelist.
Yes. I remember when I came back from my first meditation course, and I called one friend and I started telling him, about the Dharma and how about this whole notion of, what samsara is and being trapped in a cycle of dukkha. And his response was, oh, you sound very unhappy. And it was like, no, I'm very happy. I finally met a path to get out of this mess. Yeah. But his reaction was, don't tell me anymore. You sound unhappy. Okay. They rationalize like that. Okay. Yeah. You go into society and emotionally tell others you are all wrong. This is ridiculous. You are completely joking. That is why I say to help other sentient beings is a process of gradual development and fulfilling one's own gradual path to awakening. Okay. So we're going to stop here. Maybe we have time for a couple of questions.
I was just wondering if you could clarify the difference, if there is one, between reciting a mantra and reciting things that we learn when cultivating metta, like may I be happy, may I be safe, may you be happy. Is like a mantra like a really skillful way of doing that same thing, but with when we say Om Rapasanadi, is it like the best blessing we could give a person? Is that how we should think about a mantra?
When you're saying, like in the metta meditation, may I be happy, may other beings be happy, there you're focusing on the meaning of the words. Yeah. With a mantra, the mantra expresses a meaning, but the mantra is what a Buddha expresses verbally when they're in a deep state of meditation, or if Manjushri wants to express what it feels like to realize emptiness and how it converges with the meaning of dependent arising, in meditative equipoise, to express that, he says, Om Arapasana, he doesn't say, think about wisdom or something like that. Okay. So there's something, not only the meaning in the mantra, but, it's linking us back in some way to the energy of that realization. Okay. But there are times when we need to explain things to ourselves in our own language. When we're studying, when you study, you should be thinking about things in your language, and explaining them to yourself. When you listen to teachings, you listen to the teachings. You don't recite mantra while you're listening to teachings. Yeah. Because if you're reciting mantra while you're listening to teachings, part of your mind is on the mantra and you miss out on the experience of a live teaching. Yeah.
If you don't have the Jenang to do the self-generation for this practice, so you're doing the front generation practice, can you still recite the mantra just mentally? When you're...
Yeah, when you focus on the D and the visualization of Manjushri, sorry. Mm-hmm.
I'm curious why mental recitation of the mantra without vocalizing it is said to purify speech instead of purifying the mind.
Well, it involves expressing a meaning. Speech is not only what comes out of our mouth. Yeah, when you're writing an email is speech. Okay, making a drawing can be speech. Speech refers to communicating. Yeah, so if you transform your mind with the mantra, it's going to have an effect also on what you communicate. Okay.
So when we recite the mantra for animals, like Chandrasek's mantra,
yeah,
Lama Sopa emphasizes to do this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Is that helping their minds connect with a Buddha's mind, or is it more helping us? How does that work?
Okay, I think it's helping us and it helps them. It helps us because we're thinking, oh, I want to benefit this animal, so we have a good intention, and then we're reciting the mantra, okay, with the intention to benefit that animal. And so it's an act of compassion if we think like that. For the animal, it's hearing something connected with the Dharma. And they say that if you hear certain things, even as an animal, later, when you're reborn as a human, you'll have some kind of familiarity with that because you heard it in the past. Okay. Also, my experience has been, sometimes with insects that look like they are almost dead, if I say mantra and blow on them and just leave them and come back and a few minutes later, they've usually flown off or walked off. So it's kind of interesting because I really thought, this one's on their way out, but then they weren't. So, some benefit to the creature as well. And then there's this story of one monk who, in the debate grounds in the monasteries, the classes are lined up, class 1, 2, and, up to the big guys, okay? And they're each debating side by side. So there was one monk who went through a certain number of classes and did debating very well and knew the responses and everything. And then he got to one class and it was he didn't understand anything. This is how the story goes. And somebody with, the ability to see karma and past lives and so on, saw that in a previous life, this monk had been a scorpion, and he had started out where the first class was, and he just, crawled his way along the debating ground until he got to one level thing where one monk saw him and picked him up and took him away. Okay, so all those things, the debates that he heard when he was a scorpion, even though he didn't understand anything, put some good imprint in his mind. And when he got taken away, that good imprint stopped. And that's why he couldn't understand the things in the higher classes. It's a good story, yeah? Yeah. It's like, be careful of what you fill your mind with. It has an effect. Okay, let's dedicate.